Welcome to the show. As always, the latest of COVID-19. And I don't think this doesn't look good. In this state alone, we're getting close to 50,000. $84 left, and then we're going to be up to 50,000. And in Oasis County, 41,765. None of it covered in the county nor the state. As of the vaccines, 10.3 have had at least one dose today, with 35.8% of the population. 6.7 have been fully vaccinated, with 23.2% of the people getting vaccinated. That's good. We need to. That's good. We got to make sure we keep it up. What about in California? 10.3, 26.1, 17.5, 44.5 that had at least one dose, and 10.3 have been fully vaccinated. And the cases in California, 3.72, 61,000 deaths, 1.23 million, with 330 new cases, 20 new deaths along with 22,694. The daily change. The biggest one ever. As of yesterday, there's been 2,300 cases in the 7-day average, with 2,400 new cases. Over that much. The cases are going high because nobody cares about COVID. You tell them, I'm not concerned about COVID. I don't care about COVID. But let me tell you something. When a friend of mine from Instagram opened up her business, I don't think there was any social distancing. You might be saying, well, how do you know what social distancing if you've never been there? Let me tell you. Had I gotten permission from my mother, if I had gotten permission, or if I had used my day off to go over there and check it out for myself, what I would see is no social distancing. There would be no excuse. No freaking excuse. Everybody wants an excuse for not opening. For not opening with no health plans. And if I had to look at this from my own perspective, I would not have known about it. None of my sources were ever convinced that this person, which I'm not going to be naming names, but you know who you are. I'm not throwing, and for her watching, I'm not throwing you under the bus. What I'm trying to do is help you. Because if you're going to be opening up a business, what you need to do is make sure you have a health plan. You need to make sure you have social distancing guidelines. You need to make sure you have a mask recommendation. What that means is you need to recommend to all customers and all employees to wear a mask. If they refuse, if you can't do that, then that's your choice. If you're going to sit there and tell me, oh, I'm not concerned about COVID. And if this owner's going to sit there and tell me, well, I didn't know I had to have a COVID plan when I opened up. No one ever told me. I don't know how to open with a COVID plan. Then grow a pair and have a plan. What are you doing not having a plan? Grow a pair. What are you doing not having a plan? You've got to learn how to be strong. Grow a pair and have a plan. At least my work had a plan. Why aren't you growing a pair? Jeez Louise. No one has a game plan. No one even grew a pair. With that in mind, masks, always, nose. Not down here, nor down here. Don't piss me off with that. Social distancing, 6 feet. Your school does 3 feet? Okay. Otherwise, stay within the 6 feet range. Sanitation. You need to sanitize your area at all times. You sanitize your area at all times, and that includes schools. It doesn't matter. Social distancing is required to be 6 feet from your Texas education when your education agency state. Wash your hands every 30 seconds. Hot water always helps. If your child's under 2, no mask. If you have a medical condition, let them know beforehand. That way they can understand. And if you open a business, grow a pair and come up with a health plan. As an owner, you have the ability to train all your employees on the COVID relief. I mean, listen, just because Greg Abbott opened up Texas does not mean we go back to normal. No. The cases are still on the rise, and nobody even gives a shit about the cases. I do. And by the time this episode goes out to a friend of mine from Instagram, she would know that I don't play that kind of crap. Neither does the coffee place on SPID. I don't play that crap. No excuses. No fucking excuse at all. Alright, next, there's a new bill here in Texas that would allow people to open carry their concealed weapons. What does that mean for you in Texas? We'll explain the answer to that. Also, the Hate Crimes Act. What does it mean? We'll tell you about it. And later, how to make the juvenile justice center create a safe place for the juvenile justice system for all criminals. That's coming up. Yesterday was the 22nd anniversary of the mass shooting at Columbine. And I provided a whole broadcast. Check the card above. But there is something we have not covered yet, and that is the constitutional carry bill. What does that mean?
Update tonight on the effort by some state.
What does that mean? Well, it basically means if you're over 21, you're allowed to carry a gun without a license. What does that mean? Here's Michael Gibson.
Gibson has reaction from both sides and from a polling expert who's been looking at how Texans feel about the idea.
State lawmakers in the House passed HB 1927, or as it's commonly known as, constitutional carry. It would allow anyone over the age of 21 who can legally own a gun to carry it concealed without having to get a permit.
Citizens should have the ability to protect themselves. And that's all that constitutional carry is about, is allowing law-abiding citizens who can already possess a firearm to carry it on their person without, having to jump through government hoops to be able to do that. This will help minorities, lower socioeconomic individuals.
The GOP representative who sponsored the bill also agrees that law-abiding citizens need the ability to protect themselves and their families. That as an epidemic of mass shootings have erupted across the country over the past week or so.
I cannot see or even imagine someone carrying a gun with no criminal check or no criminal background check into HEB, where you have families doing the grocery shopping with their kids. If people walking around with big old guns hanging on their side, I think that's not something I can support. And I don't think the majority of citizens of our state will support open carry.
A recent poll by UT Tyler researchers asked people if our state should allow concealed handguns to be carried without a permit. 58% of people said no way, while 26% said yes. The remaining 16% said it depends.
A danger.
Dr. Joshua Blank is the research director of the Texas Politics Project at UT Austin. He's an expert on Texas politics and is in charge of the polling and research there. His group did a similar poll back in 2015 when only a handful of people supported concealed carry without a permit.
We actually asked about this back in 2015 during the open carry debate. Only 10% of Texans thought it was a preferable idea to have permitless carry, including only 14% of Republicans.
It's expected that sometime this week, our state senators could begin to look at and debate the merits of allowing people to carry a concealed weapon without a permit.
What I think is that the laws that we presently have in the books are sufficient to protect the rights of gun owners under the Second Amendment. So we don't need constitutional carry to allow people to carry guns out in the open.
Senator Hinojosa tells 3 News that he believes the chances of the constitutional carry bill passing in the Senate are very slim. Michael Gibson, 3 News.
But if it did pass, what would happen? Well, those who wanted to get a permit can now not get a permit. But if you're under 21, you still need a permit. You still got to go through those loopholes. If you own a gun before the act and over 21, that doesn't allow it. That probably won't do it. In this case, however, if it did pass, all those people would go into guns, and the comments on Facebook I heard was like going back to like the cowboy thing. That's how it would be. That's how I would think. And that's what we looked at yesterday. I mean, what can it also mean for teachers? If teachers decide to own a gun, would that qualify them to this act? Well, think about it. Texas is one of the few states that allow people to carry a concealed weapon without a license. And so is California. They have stricter gun laws. We don't. Government loopholes. We don't have government loopholes, but California does. And they're on a strict list. How strict? Very strict. There's no loopholes. There's none of that.
So if you've been following the news, you know the pandemic is being blamed for an increase in hate crimes committed against Asian Americans.
But what I think really needs to happen here is that if this bill passes, it could really help out with everything that's going on with the shootings. I mean, guns can stop crime. You don't need applications. You don't need to go to the police department. You don't need none of that. We just need to make sure that we know what we're doing to make sure that everyone's Second Amendment rights are not violated. Next, here in Texas, there's a new bill about hate crime. There's a new bill about the hate crime that is especially very important to those Asians. Does that have anything to do with racism? And what does that mean We'll explain next. If you've been following the news or following this broadcast, you know the cause of the pandemic is caused by the hate crimes by Asian and black people. Does this have anything to do with racism? It's the COVID-19 hate crime. It's all part of the COVID-19 hate crime bill that is possibly a group from the U.S. senators. And out of those 92 senators voted yes, while 6 voted against the bill. One of them was Texas Representative Ted Cruz. Did he say yes or did he say no? Last year, the the Hate Crimes Act was brought to life by 3 U.S. senators. What does that mean? Here's Ashley Gonzalez.
We have a chance to make our voices heard. COVID-19 came with pain, loss, devastation, and at the same time, several hate crimes.
Why somebody would want to do something so horrific to such nice people.
Last March, the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act was brought to life by a few U.S. senators. Its purpose?
The bill is written to address any hate crime against anyone that has a nexus with COVID-19.
Matt Manning is a legal analyst. He says the slang that surrounds COVID-19 has become dangerous for some Americans.
The way this has been referred to has created an uptick in violence against certain people, against the Asian population, which is why it's extremely problematic.
92 senators voted yes. 6 voted against the bill, one of them being Texas Rep. Ted Cruz.
He's accusing the Democrats of trying to use this legislation to muzzle people and prevent them from talking about the fact that the COVID-19 virus came out of China.
But apparently, that's not the purpose of the bill.
And the Democratic response is, we're not talking about that. We're talking about retaliation or hate against Asian Americans.
And for the Asian American Pacific Islander Committee out of Texas A&M Corpus Christi, the change for a better tomorrow with less hate starts with us.
The standard of democracy. So if we change, our representation changes, that changes policy, and that brings we actually move towards being a society that is fair and just.
The bill made it to the next step, but it still needs a few more to officially be passed. Ashley Gonzalez, 3 News.
I really hope that bill does get passed. We need to not hate and love. I mean, people hate the Chinese because they're the cause of COVID. Don't blame the Chinese. They created an accident. Accidents happen. You're hating the Chinese for all this happening. I mean, the hate crime's I think the hate crime's all about racism. But what is that? What is the difference between hate crime and racism? And by doing this research, but there isn't a difference. The definition of a hate crime basically means a criminal act or intentional criminal act against individual group of individuals because the actual receive race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, sexual orientation, gender, disability. This is from the LA District County Attorney's Office. The following groups of this is physically assaulting someone while using derogatory racial, sexual words, vandalism, hate, graffiti, and burning a cross along with black people. I think that's racist. I think hate crimes are racist crimes. There's a difference. The difference between hate crime and hate speech. Controversial term for speech tending to degrade, intimidate, or intense violence to prejudice against group, people in their race, doesn't need it, etc. And it doesn't always involve hate speech. Hate speech is not always a hate crime. I think if this bill passes, we can learn a lot about hate crime and racism. And I really think we can do this. We need a lot of this happening before all this stuff happens. What do I mean by that? Racism, all those hate crimes, the burning of the cross. We don't need those burning of the cross. In fact, there was a segment in 2020 about that from David Duke. And after the peace, one of them, community service, jail time, one of them promised to write an essay about Martin Luther King Jr. He wanted to end racism in America with the Civil Rights Act. We should not be taught. We should not judge people by the color of their skin. but by the content of the character. That's what Martin Luther King Jr. said. And after all those years, no one followed that. Not one person followed that. And especially for what's been happening over the years since COVID, people are still hating the Chinese. Everyone is equal. Blacks and whites are equal. Everyone is equal. But what we don't need is people what we don't need is people trying to hate the Chinese because of COVID. That's my take on this. Back in a moment with some back to school concerns from parents. Are you a parent having some concerns about your back to school for next year? Well, parents at Tulsa Midway ISD are concerned as they resume in-person learning.
Is the Rebound Coastal Band, brought to you by Conviva. Visit us at ConvivaCareCenters.com.
What does that mean? Take a look.
As the Coastal Bend works to rebound from the pandemic, we want to hear about the challenges that you're facing. In the Tuloso Midway School District, some parents say they are not happy with the district's decision to return to in-person learning next week. In a letter that was sent to parents yesterday, the district says that decision was made because of a decline in COVID-19 cases and a rise in vaccinations. The district is also concerned about the potential negative educational impact remote learning has had on students. Two parents who asked to remain anonymous shared some of their concerns about the decision.
It's not just COVID that they care about, it's having to get their kids back to school in such short notice.
Honestly, I just want to know what's the point of the last 5 weeks. Is it the testing, the numbers? What's the point?
And we did reach out to Tuloso Midway ISD for comment, but we haven't heard back from them yet. Don't forget, if you've got a story idea for a Rebound segment, send us an email, rebound@christv.com.
Okay. So that was part of the rebound. And again, Tulsa Midway did not respond, but we will hear. And as the parent said, it's no one, your child does not want to do remote learning. And the cause of all this, students are turning in, as you heard from months ago, that's the cause of truancy cases. Kids not turning in the work by a certain time. Job loss, another distraction to the educational environment. And especially working to help the parents pay the bills while in school. I'm not sweeping the truancy issue under the rug because of all this. And if it's like that, and the parents are going to sit there and say, this should not have happened, it's because of the decline. You don't need to be, parents, you just need to be happy. Be happy about it. Everyone's getting the vaccine, the decline in COVID, and if you're not happy about it, you keep your thoughts to yourself. Try to understand here. Kids need the education. If you're sitting there saying your child wants to go back to remote learning, well, it's up to your local school board. I wonder if other school boards are doing the same thing. We won't know, but I'll keep you up to date as we go along. But for that, that's all for this edition of Give Me a Break Wednesday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Friday. Have a good night, everyone. For all of us here at YouTube, take care of yourself and each other. Have a good night.